Hello, Charlie TCG here, and welcome back to Looking Ahead, the series where I break down the meta, what's happening over Japan, and how will it impact Taiwan. Today I'm talking all things Regidrago, and why it's performing so well in Japan. We're going to look at exactly the City League metagame and analyse why is Regidrago doing so well in this sort of new metagame. Could it be the likes of Lugia, or is it just generally a right time to play this right now? Also look at the rest of the Champions League results. The rest of the top 4 and top 8 sort of deck lists have been posted, so we'll analyse and mechanics really be translated into our Stellar Crown metagame right now. Plus also some brand new cards got revealed. I love talking about this one, getting ready for Sparking Surges, which is released in November time. So a better place to start the video by looking at these brand new cards. Milotic EX, we just missed it, I didn't talk about it last week, but it has really good synergy right now. It has an amazing ability that prevents all damage and effects done to this Pokemon by Terra Pokemon. Now instantly I'm thinking of likes of Trapagos, Charizard, Okidogi and Dragapult. This has not been affected by this, by any of those sort of things, which I think is really strong. The limited obviously is a stage 1. We're seeing like the likes of Miltank and the likes of Mimikyu, they're obviously basic Pokemon, but they give 1 prize and have very low HP. This has 270 out of stage 1. Now, it has a decent attack, which nearly 2-shot KOs most things in the format right now, and it instantly makes your opponent's active Pokemon asleep, so a 50% chance of him actually moving them from the active spot or attacking, so this has some good synergy in that one. The difficulty is actually powering out. Yes, you could see some likes in Chien-Pao, but honestly, I think it's much better as a wall deck right now. It is obviously going to be a stage 1, so you'll have to survive its feed passes, but this could be really powerful if we see more Trapagos and Charizard, which definitely the metagame is shaping up to be. Ceruledge is looking to be the predecessor or the successor to Palkia, with the attack Fiery Radical, which has 60 plus 20 more for each bench Pokemon on both sides of the field. This is really good because it's basically Subspace Well, Palkia and V-Star's attack, which is very strong. Only down for this one, this is a stage 2, and if you want to have a full bench of like with Trapagos out and play, have this big sort of eventual thing, you always want to have the areas your underdecks and not have Magma Base and Energy Accelerate into this one. Have the ability Unaware, preventing all effects from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon done to this Pokemon, obviously not damage, so that's not too bad. So stopping the likes of Dragapult from spreading damage from around it and Sableye, so that's quite nice. It's a stage 2 and it's quite fun. Definitely more of a pre-release style one. Don't know if it's going to have as much a meta threat. Fluttermane, however, I am a huge fan of his first attack. Move all damage counters from one of your bench Pokemon, ancient bench Pokemon, to one of your opponent's actives. I think this is incredibly strong in Roaring Moon. One issue of Roaring Moon is obviously when you use a big Frenzy Gouge and instantly one-hit KO your opponent's active, obviously you do 200 damage to yourself. Now, if all of a sudden we now get the switching out there, chuck a double turbo or potentially power up easily with a Sada and energy attachment, you can instantly just move loads of damage counters from one of your Pokemon, your really hugely damaged Roaring Moon, and move it to the opponent's active one. You could boss up a Squawkabilly, a Luminion, or anything like that, which I think is really strong. Heck, you could also see this in Gardevoir as well as another good Fluttermane. They really damage Gardevoir and potentially put 300 damage on one. You get switching out with all that damage straight onto another one of your opponent's Pokemon. It is absolutely incredibly powerful. The other attack, maybe not so much, only damage reduced by 30 is not too bad, but the first attack I think is really good in like Roaring Moon and Gardevoir, with just any other sort of bench spreading sort of damage. Now Alternatives, it's fun to see we're getting more Alternatives cards, but it's kind of okay. Its first attack does 90 damage to the opponent's active Pokemon for EX, and the attack for a Fire Double Dark, World's End, 230 damage, pretty powerful, but discard a Stadium in play. If you can't do this, attack does nothing. This could seem like some Regidrago sort of play, but you like having your Stadium cards, like your Pokestops, or now more importantly, it's going down to the likes of the Sinnoh Temple of Sinnoh, but I think this is fine overall. It's very difficult to energy accelerate. Not even like Crispin can power us up as early as turn 1, but honestly, it's not as much, more like a bulk style sort of style deck. But overall, I think Fluttermane and Milotic have a lot of good sort of synergies in other existing decks. Now let's look at the rest of the top 4 and top 8 Champions League list. Well, players basically look at Charizard. Now, Charizard has been the talk of the town, which is kind of like one of the strongest sort of synergies with likes of Dusknoir, Briar, and Thornton. You pretty much can win nearly exactly on your second or third turn of the game, which is very scary. But the huge debate in Charizard is what is the ace spec I should play. Should I play Hero's Cape for the mirror match? Should I play Unfair Stamp to be disruptive capability? Or should I play Prime Catcher? And this player here is definitely opted to play Prime Catcher, and it looks like it's the best way to play Charizard. If I'm talking to my friends, if I'm looking at the metagame right now, most Charizards have opted to play like some Prime Catcher. Why not choose anything else? You can be gusting effect and disrupting your opponent with the Ionos and Roxanne, but have that gusting with a Prime Catcher, which I think is really strong. Thornton, I think, is a really good synergy right now. The ability to also change one of your like single prize liabilities like Clever, or even your Rotom to remove it and instantly make them into a Charizard, is super powerful. One of the things here which I noticed is Mist Energy is played a lot more. You might think, oh, it's for Dragapult, but I honestly believe in Japan's meta game, it is for the likes of Roaring Moon. Roaring Moon is going to be a 10% archetype in most of the style format. And once we see the results from the Champions League Tokyo, we can actually see how much of a threat Roaring Moon is to Japan's meta. And I think Mist Energy instantly sort of protects their Charizard for not being these big one-hit KOs, where they have to go with their Calamity Storm, potentially go with their two-shot for it. Whereas this one isn't too different to where we see most things. We're seeing Jamming Tower. I always think Jamming Tower is for the Raging Bolt matchups, stopping the likes of their Bravery Charms going around there. It'll also stop any of Team Devolutions from Gardevoirs, but obviously they draw through so many of their archetypes, they're always going to be having this one. This deck also plays TM Devolution as well, so I like that, so it can be that disruptive capability. It can do some Dustin or Curse Blasting around there and instantly de-evolve some of your opponent's field, which I think is quite nice. Whereas this one isn't too different. They are playing a Cleffa, again, a bit unique for Charizard decks, which is a bit slow. I know Tord is a huge fan of this one, but we're not seeing Manaphy because Regidrago I don't think adds much of a threat going into this sort of format, but now I think it's definitely on a lot of people's radars right now. And Gringer, obviously, people not respecting Palkia, so I could definitely see Manaphy kind of slot itself back into Charizard. Also a 3-1-2 line of Charizard, a little bit on the greedy side, but they definitely compensated with a ton of searching cards, so I don't think they're going to be as punished as most people. Now let's look at one of the two big Regidrago list players. Now I believe these two people were actually testing together, and there's literally only a 1-card difference from this one. I know because I have checked and scoured it one. This one here isn't too different. We may notice that Gudra is completely gone. We're not playing Gudra, and I've noticed that in most of other people's archetypes right now, they have cut Gudra completely from the list. They are going with Cleffa, and I really like Cleffa in Regidrago, because sometimes you could get the attack of Regidrago V in the first turn, which is, if you go second, which isn't too bad, but honestly it's ending with a single prize in the active spot, drawing to have 7 cards in hand. Pretty much I guarantee you can attack Regidrago V-Star next turn, which I think is a much stronger play. Also seeing this one, we've seen Penny. I really like Penny over the likes of a Churro. You can just pack all your stuff back, including your energies, which you can energy accelerate them into Ogerpons. You can also get the Fire Energy attached them to your rated Charizard in the later start game. You may also see that they already are pet teching for Lugia. Lugia is obviously one of the good matchups, I believe, for Drago, or at least wanting to tech against this one. So having that Temple of Sinnoh means you're not liability to any of the Mist energies on their Cinchinos and Minchinos, so you can actually put some damage counters on with the Dragapult, and also Legacy Energy, stopping that and also stopping the V card as well as the all of their sort of Mist energy as well. I think it's really, really strong. Also Gift, stopping Gift. I think this is a very clean, very straightforward Regidrago build, playing high accounts of everything to draw into all their key sort of factors. What I love about this one is still playing the Kirim, because I think Kirim is just such a good threat against any of the single prize archetypes, or in fact two-shotting most of the supporting Pokemon right now in the meta. Now let's look at Palkia. And now I played this one at League and actually got a third place, which I really do like Palkia. I think it's very strong. I played a League Cup this past weekend, and sadly didn't do as well, but I think it's a really good place in the metagame. If you can dodge some of the dodgy sort of matchups like Raging Bolt, I think this is a really good sort of deck. One thing what I love about with Palkia is you always can come back from behind. Noctowl just opens up a deck so well. But one of the things which was so unique about this is they played Articuno. And one of the things looking at Articuno, yes, it's a good thing to have as a bench sort of spotter, but also I think really helping the Charizard matchup, stopping him in the active spot, forcing him to either find their Prime Catcher, which effectively they're going to potentially play in the early sort of games to get that Gustian effect, but also it can stop them from or force them to use their Churro to actually move someone from the active spot, which I think is a much stronger sort of play at time. Force them to play one of them, one of their powerful sort of Churro cards as well. So getting rid of their switching outs, which I'm a big fan. This obviously does play the Briar, and I think that Briar is such a good threat. If we're looking at Gardevoir doing pretty well right now in the metagame, making your Trapper goes make the Scream Tails or the Drift Flumes into 2-price Pokemon when your opponent's taking 2 prices is only got 2 prizes left is so powerful. I think the Glass Trumpet mixed with Energy Switch is really strong. I do think that 2 Earthen Vessel is exactly enough you need to have. 3 of them is definitely, I will put it the most. I really do think after doing testing lots of it as well, 3 areas you're under depth is exactly right in my number. I've done with 4, and I find that being actually wanting more of a card, like being even wanting another supporter, more Pokemon, more energies, or more generally any sort of inconsistency cards, because they can really clog up your hand, especially if you're playing Rockabilly. You don't want to have as many key resources in your opening hand as little as possible. That's why Squirtle, I think, is a really good sort of bind. Overall, I think this Palkia is a really sort of nice contention. Obviously, we've seen it did really well in Dortmund. We saw the one with Dust Noir do well. We saw a regular sort of Palkia as well. So I think Palkia is definitely around there right now in the metagame. Whether it be with Noctowl, or whether it be with the likes of Iron Leaves, or potentially the regular Dust Noir build, we're definitely here to stay. And it's really nice to see Palkia kind of have a new lease of life. And also looking at this Regidrago, you might go, well, what's the difference here? They're actually playing one switch over the likes of the Temple of Sinnoh. I generally think that you need to have Temple of Sinnoh right now in Regidrago. I still think Jamming Tower is still really good to actually get the one-hit KO on Bolt, because if you don't, you basically need to try and get a Halucha play, plus then get the gusting effect, as well as also the attack with Giratina, which can be a little bit more convoluted. You are playing quite a few bosses orders, you are playing Prime Catch, you do have some gusting effects, but overall I generally think having a Jamming Tower is much more of an easier threat to remove any of the Raging Bolts. So not too much to talk about Regidrago, but I think right now in the metagame it is so well placed, which we'll definitely talk about in just a little bit. And looking at this top 8 Dragapult, there's not too differently. I actually really like this top 8 Dragapult list. It is very fun. I like having an Alakazam. Some people could think, why play Alakazam with like Radiant Charizard, where Charizard is a really good attacker in the late game. If you aren't behind in prices and not playing the Defiance spread, I think it'd be very difficult to justify the Charizard at times. But I think the Radiant Alakazam move around the damage counter, potentially forcing your opponent to like try and get some switching outs or even Jiro effects before you get an absolute board wipe. I think it's a much stronger play. What I love here, they still play Sparking Crystal and as well Crispin. But what you may notice, there is no Briar. I think Briar can be quite bait. I have not seen the Dormant list. I do not remember if they did in fact play the Briar, but I can generally think sometimes it can be a little bit baity. It's obviously so strong. Any deck which you can take really should utilize Briar if you're a Terra one. Trying to get that additional prize card is so powerful for the detriment of the gameplay. But we can see here one of their ways to kind of like go around in Raging Bolt is like sort of Lost Vacuum to remove the Bravery Charm, but it's also Team League Headquarters, forcing him to get additional energy, which can be quite difficult at times. I think it's really good. Also Temple of Sinnoh, something like sort of Lugia as well, removing the missed energy so we can actually come to play some damage counters, but it's also Legacy Energy. Lots of other decks we're playing Legacy Energy, whether that be in Iron Thorns, or whether it be in Lugia, or sometimes even in, we're going to talk about a little bit, an Okidogi deck. So I think having this Temple of Sinnoh, stopping any of these really key sort of special energies is really strong. So overall, I think Dragapult is in a really good place. Now let's look at this week's City League Championships, and it has changed quite a bit. You may see here that the top two have kind of stayed the same, with Raging Bolt and Charizard being up there at 16%, but Gardevoir is overtaking Dragapult. Dragapult is no longer that 10 to 15% mark. It's gone down to 7.7, exactly the same amount as what Gardevoir has had. And Gardevoir, I think, is in a really great position. Gardevoir has an incredibly powerful Raging Bolt matchup. It's pretty much a single prize archetype. It can be with Collapse Stadium as well as also Churro. It can be a single prize board state and pretty much the entirety of this whole game, which I'm a huge fan. You may see Lugia is at 5.6. Not too shocking, obviously, it did very well at the Champions League. It's obviously a really good metagame in the City League, but Iron Thorns has had a huge placement increase, gone from like a 1.9% to a 5.1. This is a huge increase. Purely on, I believe it has an absolutely amazing Lugia matchup. And if more people are rocking out with Lugia, why not just play the counter, which I think is a really good one. Rest of the best of the rest of they call it, I think Roy Moose, Sterilage, Palkia, and like some Ancient Box, I'm not really surprised at all with these sort of placements. I believe they are in a really good spot. But now let's talk about Regidrago. Why is it doing so well right now? If we look at this sort of matchup as well, it obviously plays a good counter attack with the likes of the Jamming Towers helping the Raging Bolt. With Charizard, it can be quite difficult for them to try and get the big one-hit KO. Obviously, they can do this as early as a second turn of the game by popping over a Dusclops. But I think that this Drago play with the likes of the Kirim and Katsune clone with Gamer of the Manaphy, it's really detrimental for Charizard. They're going to be a turn 1 or 2 turns behind or something, but by the time you get around to this one, you can power up your Regidragos, you can also get them ready to go around this one. That's absolutely okay. That's why Charizard got into Thornton plays to actually kind of like counteract the devastating things of Kirim. If we look at Gardevoir, obviously you can do exactly the same play of this one, but it's much slower than the Charizard build. Similar thing with Dragapult as well, because they aren't playing the Thorntons, you can have a very scary sort of Kirim sort of play and pretty much wipe them all out. Obviously you have a good Lugia matchup by playing that Temple of Sinnoh, it instantly makes it have a much stronger sort of pick. Obviously, Iron Thorns is a very scary pick. You do obviously lose all your opponents, all your energy acceleration, so you're in a much slower sort of predicament, but you can find ways around that. That's why you play the Katsune Clone. Or a Moon, that's where you play, and if you are scared about it, you play Mist Energy, but you one-hit KO it multiple times, as well as also with the Dragapult. You can like gust up a Squawkabilly and then put some damage counter on the Roaring Moons, forcing them to actually knock themselves out to go to sudden death, or potentially take 4 or 5 prizes. Sterilage I really like in this against this one. Again, you're going with the likes of your Kirin plays wipe them all out. Palkia, you obviously play the Giratina to one-hit KO you, but also they have very easy ways to one-hit KO you back, so I don't think Palkia can be a bit tricky. Same thing with Ancient Box as well. Going to Kirin play, going with the Dragapult trying to take multiple prize cards is exactly the way around this. We can see that Regidrago has so many outs and options to everything. That's why if we look at the top 6 sort of archetypes, apologies if it's not the full breakdown here, it's been quite busy sort of weekend. We can see here that Regidrago is up there at the top with 7 wins, is back in there. Raging Bolt and Charizard are at 6 wins, but Charizard's actually gone down just purely on the basis of how much more Raging Bolt is actually in the top 16. And then we look at Gardevoir, Lugia, and Iron Forms. All of them are back in, including Iron Forms, which is brand new. And Lugia, in fact, did get fifth, which I think is really, really powerful. I think overall, we're in a really exciting, it's very different metagame. We're seeing that not much has really changed overall. But if we just think about it, these top 6 archetypes, they've always been changing. We've seen some either come back in brand new, but the likes of Regidrago and Charizard have always been up there. And if Regidrago can actually have a good match against this one, I think it's going to be really detrimental and powerful to see how it's really going to go forward. Now, if we look at a full breakdown of the tier list, we see Chien-Pao actually made into this one and did get quite a few wins. I was really hoping it would go in there, but likes of Lugia and Iron Forms are actually much more well placed in the metagame. This actually has a good sort of indicating to our Stellar Crown sort of format. If we look at what we have right now, we have access to every single one of these archetypes except the likes of Cerulege. And because we're getting that in our 13 Spark set, this got released a lot earlier and actually doing pretty well overall. We can see here that Trap Codes isn't as popular right now in Japan. It's much stronger right now in our format, and obviously people are loving the turtles. It's one of these brand new archetypes, so always going to have instantly more play. Exactly a similar thing happened with the likes of Dragapult. When Dragapult was the new big thing, we thought it was going to be absolutely incredibly powerful, but it was only like 5%. Whereas for us in Dortmund Day 2 yesterday, it was like the most played archetype in Day 2, which is absolutely shocking. But we're seeing it's not even near any sort of play, under 2% in Japan. But if we see here, we can see likes of Regidrago much popular over here than it is in our sort of format. Similar thing likes of the likes of Iron Thorns, but I purely believe that Iron Thorns is here because of Lugia, and if that's the case here, that's where Regidrago kind of sneak in. It's right there in the middle of that 7.6, but I think it's in such a good spot. Now I want to look at some fun other decks which actually did really well at the City League this past week. We'll start by looking at Gardevoir. I do think Gardevoir is in a really good spot right now. One of the differences we're seeing here is it does play in the Tatsuguri. It goes back to Cresselia, but it also has the Fluttermane and Klefki to slow down the opponent. The tricky thing about having a Klefki against these decks like Palkia, Regidrago is you can shut off your mana fee, so you just do not have your mana fee out in play as well as Klefki, because the opponent can instantly boss up the Klefki and then get the big Kiram or Greninja plays and instantly remove most of your side of the field. We're seeing here people are going more of the TM Evo sort of route, as they're only playing one copy of the Bravery Charm and one copy of the TM Devolution. We're gone are the likes of the Moonlit Hill, which I think is a really good thing. I think I liked it a little bit, but the likes of what Cresselia and Okidogi have to offer to spread around some damage counters and heal your guys is much stronger. No Collapse Stadium or Rare Candy I really do not like. I love having the ability to get that Rare Candy out, instantly make a Gardevoir come out of nowhere, or potentially the Collapse Stadium to remove your 2-price liability out and play. But you are playing a heavy counter of Iono and Marvin, which hasn't really changed, and the rest of the metagame as well. We also see Chien-Pao, and it's quite nice to see what it's actually gained. And the answer is it just gained Serendipity. Some people I've been trying out, like, oh, what happens if we put the likes of Aerial Underdepths in Chien-Pao and have a huge bench and use Noctowl as well as Van Rotom, and we could chuck Terrapagos or even the Wellspring Mask Ogerpon, which is really powerful. And I kind of looked at this and went, I'm losing so many resources. I'm losing most of my supporters. I'm losing most of my consistency cards. I just want to go back to the Iron Hands, because I think Iron Hands is really good. If we're seeing Lugia be up there as a much more powerful sort of threat, Iron Hands is really good in this one. If we look at how much Regidrago is out in play, obviously this can be very scared of it if you're not playing any of the mana fee. I think it's going to be a very good sort of metagame. We're not seeing anything brand new or anything like that. Seeing the Serendipity, seeing the Night Stretcher is exactly what we're expecting for Chien-Pao. I think this is a really good deck and very fun to play. We are seeing some sort of Chien-Pao love go through. We've obviously been over 2% of the metagame at the top 16 at the Champions City League. Hopefully that can be translated over to our metagame very soon. And finally, I want to talk about Okidogi. This was an absolute shocker when I saw this one. Obviously, it's really fun. We've had this one, I believe it was released in Twilight Masquerade, but no one's really played it as much. It has a decent attack, but does 100 more damage if you have a Darkness Energy attached to this one. Now we have Legacy Energy, Luminous Energy, and Dark Energy. So you have multiple ways to actually get this energy onto this Okidogi. You can Energy Accelerate, like the Crispin, this one doesn't play it, but also plays the Energy Sticker, the Flipper Coin, and attach some energies that way. I think this is very fun. Play the EXP share to load up the energies back on this one. Obviously, it only needs 2 energies to attack, but you want to do even more 100 more damage if you get that Darkness Energy on this one. Check a Legacy Energy, all of a sudden they take 0 prizes. And I think what's lovely about it is when you have the Blood Moon, so it's that 2-prize end sort of game with that 240 damage. I am a big fan of Okidogi. I hope this kind of like translates into it. It looks very fun. So kind of looking ahead, can Regidrago actually stay up on top? I think it's a very good pick right now. It has a good match against most of the metagame, and obviously can keep up with Lugia right now, especially with the Temple of Sinnoh, so also jamming Tower as well, so other sort of archetypes. Can the evolving decks also keep up? We've seen lots of Gardevoir, Chien-Pao, we've seen Dragapult, we've seen Charizard, all of them do really, really well this week at the Champion City League, but can they actually keep up? We saw Goldingo for us get into the top 4, but I still see that as a stage 1 Pokemon and not really this big 2 prizer. But Dragapult did in fact win. So we are seeing these evolving decks kind of carry on. And will Lugia's success continue? It has been an absolute terror now, pretty much been in every single top 8 majors since Worlds, which is very, very scary. It's going to be up there as one of the biggest threats to the metagame right now. Can we see Regidrago counter this one? Can we see other decks go around this one? Will Temple of Sinnoh be seen in a lot more archetypes to really stop this kind of threat of Lugia? So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below. What do you think of Regidrago? How do you think it's well played in the metagame? Hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I'll be back in a few days' time for another short. See you guys later. Bye for now.